Speaking of, well, frankly, imbalanced movies, let's
Yeah.
get to our box office report. I believe a few months back when we did our predictions for the year and talked about the upcoming movies in that one mega stream,
Yeah.
I think I was, I think I had questions about how well Spider-Verse would do. It's like, well, the first one only opened to $30 million, so I mean, it wasn't that successful overall. Like, yeah, what I was missing was that since then, Miles Morales has been in a Spider-Man game. Everyone played on PlayStation,
Hmm.
headlined his own spin-off slash expansion pack, however you want to call it,
Yeah.
and people were watching this movie over and over again on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, okay, egg on my face. I underestimated this movie. $120 million opening.
Yeah. I underestimated it too. Yeah. I didn't think it would. Yeah. I didn't see this coming.
No. According to their friends, the numbers, that's 3.4 times what Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse made at its debut in 2018.
Hmm?
We do talk about movie ticket inflation, but that still is a much bigger actual audience because I think the average ticket price was like $7 or $8. That's versus like 14 today. That's
Yeah.
you beat inflation.
Yeah.
The only thing that's been bigger this year is Super Mario Brothers. It's going to be a wild year if the biggest movies of the year are both animated
Yeah. And not Disney.
and not Disney. I mean Spider Verse like asterisk Disney, but it's a Sony production that they
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
The only thing that's really seems to be competition at this point is, if the Flash happens to do bigger than everyone's predicting,
Hmm.
that's a possibility. And of course, the new Mission Impossible movie.
Right.
But the year has kind of fired its big shots that anybody gives a damn about,
Yeah.
which more on that in a minute. So, as is our yeah, as is our habit, let's just go take a look at other movies here. Book Club: The Next Chapter is dropped off a frickin' cliff.
Yeah. Oof.
584 per theater. Oof.
Yeah.
Let's see. As we go up the list here, um, About My Father doesn't seem to be doing very good. I think you made the observation last time that De Niro is not in a lot of good movies these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and Ninja mentioned points out that Transformers is out this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that does.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we got Super Mario Brothers movies still, even though it's on digital, and Daniel even picked it up
Yeah.
at 9 weeks. It's outdid About My Father's second week, so
Yeah.
people are still going to see it.
Yeah.
Um, Fast X, oh, it did manage to cross 100 million last
Hmm.
weekend, so that's good on it. Let's take a deeper look here. Yeah, 600 million. So far it's wildly outpaced Ant-Man, our perennial
Yeah.
punching bag for the year.
Yeah. And though it does have a little bit of a sperm whale thing going on there.
Yeah, it's not like a completely depressed sperm whale though. It's just like one that's maybe frowning a little bit.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the sperm whale chart is where you have the numbers big projection range up here, like the upper thick upper jaw of a sperm whale. Then you have the trending line way beneath it.
Yeah.
We call it the sperm whale of failure.
Yes.
Although part of this is that China is by far its biggest market, which means that Universal gets less of this back. So
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, it's basically twice of something or half of nothing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is not being huge in the states, but that is okay.
Yeah. And well, I guess over here we don't want to watch movies about family.
I guess not. Wow, $340 million budget. That's got to be that's got to be like the actors at this point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You see the size of the cast of these movies is just
Yeah.
what?
Um, as far as other major movies of the weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy is, I can't believe it's already been 5 weeks since it came out. It feels like just yesterday we were reporting on it.
Yeah, it's holding in there.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, closing in on 800 million.
Yeah.
And actually, I wonder what is it? Okay, it's also reasonably big in China.
Yeah.
So that proves that, like, okay, so I feel like the Chinese market for American movies has cooled down a bit. I think
Mm-hmm.
it also helps though that I think they finally uh, are letting people actually out of their houses again, more or less, after
Uh,
that extreme COVID lockdown they did last year.
right. Yeah.
It was nuts, man. Like they were, it was like as bad as we thought it was here in 2020, 2021. It was like next level in China for the
Yeah.
lockdowns and
Well.
restrictions.
Yeah. Well. Nobody does authoritarianism better than the Chinese government.
True that. But enough about West Taiwan.
Yes.
So, of course, the big movie of last weekend was The Little Mermaid, which I realize I'm looking at the weekly chart by mistake and not the weekend chart.
Ah,
So
there we
let's
go.
fix that. Yes. So Little Mermaid fell off a cliff, and I kind of was. It's like not quite 60%, but not far off.
Yeah, it didn't fall off as bad as I thought it would. I thought it would be like Ant-Man.
Yeah, I was running some numbers where. So one of the things that makes it annoying if you're looking at it at one of these charts on a day by day basis. Okay, it's actually kind of comfortably in the middle of its projection for the states.
Mm,
Um, but if you look at the day by day box office projections, they'll give you the comparison to last week versus yesterday. And you'll see people who make clickbait YouTube videos will just uncritically look at this number here, like last Friday versus its first Friday. They'll go, you know, Little Mermaid drops off a cliff, 69% drop.
yeah.
And then by the time the weekend actuals come out, if you compare weekend to weekend, it's actually more like 50% or 60%.
Yeah.
So I kind of, so what happens there is that when they're doing, it's like you see this green number up here, this green text, that is the any previews they did on Thursday or the rest of the week. Like it's not considered part of the full release. So that ends
Okay.
up getting rolled into the Friday estimate.
Okay.
Uh, so like while this says, I'm not sure if yeah. So actually, like while this actually, let's pull up the calculator just make sure I'm not saying nonsense here. 38 plus 30 plus 27. Okay, yeah, that works out. Uh, so that means is that while it says Friday 38 million, the Friday it actually made like 27 and change million
Hmm.
because the Friday number gets these previews from Thursday and possibly earlier in the week lumped in.
Okay.
So that's why you get these really off numbers here. And I was kind of trying to estimate it earlier in the week, and so what I hit upon was if you want to do a well, of course, the real comparison would be to subtract this from this, which I think is actually the better strategy. So let's give that a shot.
Okay.
Subtract. So I'm just going to do round. Actually, no, I'll be precise. 38, 149, 001 minus 10, 3, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 means that it actually made this much on its first Friday, 27,800,000 and change.
Okay.
So then if we go 11, 853, 470, then divide it by the actual Friday amount. Um, yeah, that actually predicts it perfectly because 42% of ratio means that if we subtract 1, 57% drop.
Okay.
So, which is exactly what we got here. So, it actually is so that's how you properly do that if anybody happens to catch this.
Okay. Yeah. All
In
right.
fact, that could be that could be a short. Uh,
Yes.
the
Um.
fine art of avoiding clickbait.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, but anyway, so Yeah, this movie is not doing much internationally, and its strength is the states.
Yes, and for whatever reason, yeah, it's not resonating overseas. We kind of talked about that last week. Um,
Yeah. And some people are out there saying, "Oh, these other countries are racist." They refuse to go see a spin-off movie featuring an African American version of a beloved character. That was
yeah,
awful
yeah,
racist. Disney didn't do anything wrong.
right, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wait, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
yeah. Hmm.
There's a flaw in your theory. So, like we said before, this one took us a bit off guard because we were not expecting quite this performance.
No, we weren't. Yeah.
Interestingly, this one is also lopsided in favor of the states. Now that I look at it,
Oh yeah, it is.
wonder if there are any movies that okay, China 22 million so far, but that's comparing one weekend versus multiples for the others, so it's in line.
Yeah.
Um, wonder if yeah, it has not dropped in Japan yet.
Poland, South
So
Africa, South Korea.
yeah, Japan it tends to be like a very large box office market. South Korea kind of secondarily.
Yeah.
So that might juice the international box office number back in line. However, they don't really have much to worry about because unlike Little Mermaid, which was made for 250 million, this movie had a budget of 100 million.
Yeah.
Even if you assume that they doubled the budget to market this thing, which they might have, because I think this thing had a Super Bowl ad,
Yeah, I think it. Oh yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
and I've been seeing signs of promotion for it around. Um, we'd only be looking at a $400 million break even point, roughly speaking,
Yeah.
which this movie is well on its way to achieving.
Yes. And maybe even eking out a profit.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, depending on what it does during the week and its drop this weekend in the face of Transformers, like Transformers could hurt it internationally because like towards the end before they made Bumblebee, they were making those movies specifically for the Chinese market.
Yeah, and yeah, especially the whichever one. I think it was the fourth one. Like the entire third act is in Hong Kong.
Yeah, the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yeah. Uh, could you be any more obvious that you're pandering to them?
Yeah, yeah, man, they're just a bunch of pander bears over there. Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so it'll be interesting to see how this shapes up. I think we talked about this last week, talked about Little Mermaid, is that there's something about uh, movies starring African Americans that seems to like weight it towards performance in the US. And I don't know if that's like a factor of international audiences being less interested or domestic audiences being more interested.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, yeah, it's almost like a. Is that it? Is that no? That wouldn't be a chicken or the egg, would it?
Eh, It's a unknown.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, because on the one hand, like it's clearly an audience that is very passionate. Like I remember, I mean, Black Panther had the biggest domestic box office of any of the Marvel movies except for the last two Avengers films, as I recall.
I
And I
think
think it's
that's
just
right.
because they
Yeah.
kept taking church groups. Like there are literally people organizing church groups to go see that movie over and over again.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, either way, as long as you're making the money, it doesn't necessarily matter where you're making it from, just as long as you keep the budget in control. Because we'd
Right.
be having a very different conversation if this thing had cost 250 to make.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'd be having the same conversation that we had with Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Right. Because it didn't gross that much more in its first weekend, well, 30 million at this rate. Okay, significantly more, but not enormously more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, good on them. I'm just from what I've heard, I'm not sure that I would like it, so I'm gonna probably just gonna wait for streaming.
Yeah, I am too.
So, but they have classic Ben Riley over here, so
Yeah.
that's a good
Yeah,
sign.
and Ninja points out, Spider-Man 2099.
All right, but he was in the last movie in Face Front. Scarlet Spider. I've always liked Scarlet Spider better.
Yeah, yeah,
That's you know, uh, I might just be shallow, but a Spider-Man with who shared my name when I was first getting into comics might have just been like too cool to me. Also,
yeah.
hi Bagman.
Oh yeah.
You know the story of Bagman, right?
uh, Trying to remember.
So Bagman wears a bag on his head in a Fantastic Four uniform because in like the first Alien costume saga, when Peter realized that it was trying to bond with him and was taking him out at night and moving his body around for him,
Okay. Yeah.
he went to get help from Reed Richards, and so they managed to get it off of him. But he, of course, he'd shown up with his alien costume and no other clothes except for his underwear. Uh, so Human Torch and Spidey always have had this antagonistic relationship. So Torch, gave him a paper bag and a Fantastic Four uniform, and he Spider-Man has to help somebody. And it's like, hey, are you joining the Fantastic Four? Are you, are you a new member, or are you just a fan? Go away. So he's a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah.
All right. Then as far as that covers the
DE.
box office.
Yeah.
As far as the DEG charts, some things that were interesting to me were, John Wick came in at number one. That's not terribly surprising.
No. Good movie.
Shazam is climbing up the charts, which is mildly surprising. I was kind of almost expecting this thing to die without a trace.
Yeah, and that's also on Max, by the way. So yeah,
Um,
that's a little
I choose not to
interesting
spend
that.
my time that way.
Yeah.
Also, for anybody playing comparison at home, Spider Verse's first weekend matched its entire box office cue.
Oof.
First
Man.
domestic weekend, ignoring international.
Yeah. Jeez.
Creed 3 is climbing up there. Uh, Dungeons and Dragons came in with at fourth place, so good on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope that gets a cult status.
Yeah, I don't think that we'd get anything else from it, unfortunately, but at the very least, it's something that people could talk about.
Yeah.
Ant-Man going down because who cares?
Yeah.
Um, Avatar Avatar is kind of falling off. This Operation Fortune movie. There's some movies I think might just do well in the DEG charts and stay there longer than you'd think because everybody forgot to see them in the theaters. So they're just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, what's this thing? Oh, a Jason
Yeah.
Statham Guy Ritchie movie?
Yeah.
How did I miss that? Cocaine Bear, Jesus Revolution, which is firmly on the will watch at some point list.
Yeah, same here.
Oh
Plane.
yeah, Holy Ninja points out that I forgot to mention the kick me sign that is on Bagman's back. And I should say, it's like a very macho guys playing with each other type relationship where they like prank
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1's 3D release is up there.
Hmm. Yeah, everybody going back to watch it or rewatch it.
Puss in Boots is fading away, but it's been 7 months on here, so it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Scream, Knock at the Cabin. Okay, yeah, Fast and Furious 9 movie collection,
Oh,
debuting at
jeez.
number 20.
Oh,
9 movie collection. No, that would be all the other movies.
yeah. I could think of so many other things I would rather spend my time on than watching all 9 Fast and Furious movies.
Well, for that matter, what occurs to me is that You'd be an idiot to buy that collection now because you're 2 movies away from it being wrapped up.
Yeah,
Just wait 2 years and spend the money then.
yeah. That's um, that's what I did with I did that with Harry Potter. I just waited for all the movies to be done, and then I bought them all in one set.
Yep. Yep. Now, as far as a little special bonus that came up before the show came out, but works nicely as part of the box office section,
Yes.
Indiana Jones is coming up in a few weeks. And for a movie that cost like 300 plus million to make because of all the reshoots they've had to do on this turkey, it is currently tracking, according to Anthony D'Alessandro over at Deadline Hollywood, for a 60 million domestic opening weekend.
Oh. Oh.
Oh man.
Oh.
Gee, it's like debuting the thing at Cannes a month early was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
Jeez.
it's kind of fascinating because you like so you know how it's like it's hard to tell the difference between sabotage and incompetence.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, did they actually think this movie was good behind the scenes at Disney Lucasfilm, or did Bob Iger say, "I want this Kathleen jerk gone.
Um.
I'm going to do everything I can to make
Uh.
sure that this movie bombs because it's going to bomb anyway. So it's just a bigger tax write-off."
Yeah. Um. To quote Grandpa Simpson, a little from column A, a little from column B.
Possibly. Again, like I don't want to get into libel territory here, but
Yeah.
it's interesting that it's a possibility. Is I guess all I'm
Yeah.
going to say.
Yeah. There could be some office politics going on there.
Yeah, but either way, it's like it's just fell flat at Cannes. So I there we go.
Yeah. And having grown up watching the Indiana Jones movies, and you know, I hate seeing that happen to the character. I hate seeing that happen to Harrison Ford. It's not right.
I mean, you're always kind of playing against your last movie, which I think is the problem that Guardians of the Galaxy had early on.
Hmm.
So, and the last movie for this one was way long ago, and it was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I actually enjoyed at the time, but I don't know if I'd want to rewatch it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, it's yeah, I remember liking it, when I saw it in the theater, and then but then, the more I think about it, it's like, oh, aliens, really?
Yeah. Well, there's that theater hypnosis effect where, at least for me, I tend to enjoy movies I see at the theaters more than movies I see at home.
Yeah. And well, and two, and also too, it's Indiana Jones, and that was the first Indiana Jones movie I saw in the theater.
Right. That does help with hypnosis.
Yeah.
But oof.
Yeah.
Although this storyline itself actually makes a decent transition to our one news story of the day.
Yes.